Hello and namaskar viewers, I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's edition of the Tax Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold. The show is brought to you by Science CPS Services, a full-fledged, complete professional accounting firm can assist you with your personal income taxes as well as corporate income taxes. But there's much more than that. They can assist you with virtual CEO, virtual CFO, payroll services, bookkeeping services, and many other services that Science CPA Services offers for their clients. You can call them 908-888-8900 or visit their sciencecpaservices.com website to book an appointment. Their knowledgeable, on-hand, experienced CPAs will help you with any tax-related matter. And with that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar, CPA, MBA with Science CPA Services with over 25 years of experience. Once again to this show, the Tax Talk by AJ. AJ, good to have you again.
Thank you, Sanjeevji. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Sure, of course, it's all true. And now we are in month of February. How busy are you getting?
It's getting busy. It's getting busy. We are reaching the cliff now.
Okay.
The eye of the storm is between March 1st and March 15th. March 15th being the business tax deadline. And then it starts to go down, but till April 15, it remains busy.
Yeah, it's going to be very busy. So we appreciate you taking time out and coming to this show to guide everybody and educate everybody when it comes to taxes, because there's always something to learn. With all the recent changes in the tax structure, it's better to be, updated and educated. All right, when it comes to taxes, of course, we talk about taxes, but today's show is going to be a very important show because we're going to talk about tax fraud and the bank fraud. As you may know, you may have heard it in the news or you may have read it in the news, the frauds are really happening and you cannot even imagine the way frauds are happening. And AJ Kumar, being a CPA, an experienced CPA with so many years, he has gotten all the information that he can share with us when it comes to tax fraud, and we're going to give you a bank fraud information from an expert in the show as well. First, let's begin with the tax fraud.
Absolutely, Sanjeevji. So the tax fraud happens throughout the year. But especially during the tax season, we see a lot more tax frauds than what we usually see in the remaining part of the year. So today's show is about understanding, protecting, being cautious about the tax fraud, bank fraud, and frauds in general. So when we talk about tax fraud, Sanjeevji, we talk about two types of tax fraud. The term fraud or tax fraud is quite general in nature. The tax fraud could be somebody is trying to claim more expenses on their taxes. Somebody is trying to get more refund than what they should be. Somebody not reporting their income. That's also a type of fraud. The fraud that's being initiated, started by the taxpayer themselves to get undue advantage of the system. That's one type of tax fraud. Then the second type of tax fraud is when a scammer, somebody else, a third party did a fraud to the taxpayer to steal their identity, to steal their money, to steal their refund. So that's also a tax fraud. Today's show is more about these scammers, the third party tax frauds and the bank fraud, of course, because it's a tax season. Everybody is talking about taxes. Everybody is thinking about taxes. Everybody is seeing a lot of news about taxes. So scammers use this as an opportunity. A lot of audits are called. People are getting audited. So these scammers will call pretending they are IRS agent. You are being audited, and they will send you a letter that looks like an IRS notice. It's not IRS.
Correct.
So the funny thing is, if you have Indian Residential Society, it also spells as IRS.
Right.
So you can have an LLC, an organization, Indian Residential Society, and on the check or on the letter you can print IRS.
Right.
And it's all perfectly legal.
Absolutely.
And you can start collecting money by sending small notices. So that's also a tax fraud. So the tax fraud we'll be talking about is the tax fraud done by the taxpayer to get undue advantage, more refund, or the tax fraud done by third party, a scammer, to get undue advantage of the taxpayer, to get their money, to steal their identity. That's the second type of tax fraud.
Absolutely. So now, obviously, you're familiar with tax fraud. Question I want to ask you is that have you seen really, significant rise in the tax frauds year after year?
Well, I wouldn't say year after year, Sanjeevji, but I do say every year we see a lot more tax fraud during the first quarter
Okay.
than what we see in the remaining 9 months.
Correct.
Just because we are going through the tax season, people are scared, people are apprehensive, people are thinking about taxes anyway. So it's easier for these scammers to take undue advantage of the taxpayers.
Okay, so these are the tax fraud that you have seen. Now, with the tax fraud, viewers, bank fraud is also somewhere connected in the sense that the frauds are happening with the banks. Even the banks could have the utmost security system when it comes to cyber security system, but scammers, they always find a way to get through. So we thought, AJ and I thought that why don't we bring an expert who can shed some light on the bank fraud. Why are the bank frauds happening and what kind of bank frauds happening? So for that matter, we have an expert who is the Vice President of Relationship Manager with one of the finest banks in the country, Citizens Bank. I'd like to welcome Mr. Salman Anwar to the show, The Tax Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. Salman Anwar, who is the Vice President, Relationship Manager with Citizens Bank. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show and to discuss such an important topic
Yes.
of bank fraud.
Correct.
And as we know, fraudsters are getting more equipped with the new technologies and finding different ways to businesses to defraud it.
Bilkul.
So I'm more than happy to share my insight and some
Absolutely.
strategies.
Right. Can you explain the current landscape, of these frauds and systems?
So a lot of businesses are facing fraud in terms of bank fraud, right? There are different type of bank frauds: check kiting, wire transfer fraud,
Yes.
email fraud. So customers are facing tons and tons of issues, especially the small business customers losing a lot of money by not utilizing the correct technology.
Okay.
So as per one report in 2019, 81% of the customers have some sort of bank fraud happen. And what it shows that 5% of their annual revenue lost just because of that bank fraud.
Wow, that's a large number.
That's a large number.
Go
So a lot of customers think that FDIC insurance covers the bank fraud when FDIC insurance does not cover the bank fraud. So fraud is on a horizon. Fraudsters become more tech savvy as we are entering into more technology to support against these scams.
Okay, that's really interesting to know because these scammers, they really find a way out to get into the system and get the fraud done. Salman, thank you for that information. At least now we know the FDIC do not cover bank fraud. They cover
Sanjay,
the deposit
it
limit.
sounds like FDIC covers if the bank fails. FDIC does not cover your own stupidity. Meaning,
Correct.
if it's happening because you did not do what you're supposed to do, that wouldn't be covered under the FDIC insurance.
Correct. All right. So, Salman, my next question to you is: how are businesses, prepping themselves for this kind of frauds?
Thank you, Sanjay ji, for a question. Business are shifting more onto electronic transactions, right? They are preparing themselves instead of writing a lot of checks. Check kiting is one of the biggest way where someone can pick up your check from a dumpsters or you put a mail and somebody standing right next to the box and they picked up that mail and open it and basically copy that check. As the technology advancement is happening, banks are not there to watch your day-to-day transactions. It's not that the physical person is sitting in every check. Now, a size of a Citizens Bank, where there are tons and thousands of transactions happening every day, we don't have humanly possible that someone sits there and manage those transactions. In terms of saving yourself is that you can utilize bank's tools where the bank supports you. Instead of writing a lot of checks, you should have a positive pay. A lot of bank frauds are happening and small businesses are getting hurt every single day. So we suggest customers use technology. Instead of writing checks, you use ACH, wire transfers, and online banking, which protects you.
So when it comes to online banking, Salman, how important it is to use a two-way authentication or a strong password? What's your suggestion around it?
One common theme what we had seen that customers, whether it's business customers or consumers, you're using password for every website, everything the same password. Now that creates a lot of problem. So I would highly recommend that you use two-way authentication. Don't use the same password for all the websites, because if the fraudster have hand on or you lose that information, they can try, they can be very creative. So we should become more creative than the fraudster, and that will the way you can save yourself from all that losing big money.
Okay. All right. Having said that, Salman, I want to ask you a question. Let's say, we pick up a business and that business, a fraud occurs in their bank account. And let's say if it's $100,000 fraud, right? Bank is not able to do anything to bring that money back or anything like that because they have no idea where the trail went and it's not covered by FDIC. What happens to that business? Now this question, Salman, to you and to AJ also, because when they file a tax return, do they take loss, or how would bank tell them that there's nothing we can do?
So customers should be on top of their transactions. You have to tell us, the bank, you should have a good relationship with your relationship manager, branch banker, branch manager. You need to report it within 24 hours. If you're not managing your bank accounts and you're not checking your accounts day-to-day basis, as soon as 24 hours are over, though the liability is still on you, but you need to inform. Once that part is done, bank will do their part to basically protect as much as you can. But as we talked about it, utilizing the technology will save a lot of time and money for you. But keep in mind to have a great relationship with your relationship manager, call 1-800 number and report it as soon as you find it. So business and individual should check their online banking every day for the transactions accuracy.
I'll bring in a real example.
Yes.
We just picked up a new client, and the situation was somebody went into their QuickBook. They were using the same password for their personal, for the business, for everything. And it was very easy password, their business name with the year. So somebody went into their QuickBook and made some payments through the QuickBook. By the time they realized the payments were going out of bank, so they called the bank. The bank said, we can't do anything. It's an authorized transaction. They had to do the FIR, and they could not collect everything back. Now the options are, of course they can claim this as a loss on their tax
Correct.
return.
That's my question.
But the other option is they can go back to their insurance. There are some insurance around this type of
Correct.
situation.
Yes.
A lot of insurance will give you a hard time because they will see it as something that you made a mistake,
Correct.
as opposed to something happened to you.
Right.
But nonetheless, your options are, a lot of times bank wouldn't refund the money to them. It's not bank's fault. And you are out of money. You can do the FIR, you can go to police, but a lot of times these amounts are not significant enough for the cops, for the police department to get involved. So in those cases, you can try the insurance, or of course you can claim the expense on the tax return. But let's say if you are in a 20% tax bracket, the saving is 20%. You lost $100 and you are claiming $20 back. So you still have 80%, $80 lost in this whole transaction.
All right, so just to wrap up this conversation before we go into the break, my question to you is that, do you suggest that businesses should have fraud insurance protection?
100%. Cyber liability is getting extremely important, depending on the type of business you do, depending on how savvy you are, how frequently you use the internet to make the payment, to do the online search, everything. So if you are running a small grocery store, you probably don't need the cyber liability. But if you are an attorney firm, an accounting firm, or if you have a lot of transactions online, or you are maintaining online QuickBook, having cyber liability insurance is a very good idea, along with general liability.
All right, general liability, let's say they would have that
Of
because
course,
they are aware
right.
of it. But now, since this kind of frauds are up on a rise, businesses should have the insurance. But the insurance can be costly, and other bad side of it, that you're not sure if actual fraud occurs. You're not sure if insurance company will reimburse you that, right?
There is no guarantee.
There's no
around it.
guarantee.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just leave it like that because we have to go for the break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with these topics, tax fraud and the bank fraud. These are the topics in today's Tax Talk with AJ show. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the second half of the Tax Talk with AJ. This every single show, Tax Talk, is very, very important because you get to learn a lot, and we also, get excited to share so much information with you. Of course, thanks to Science CPA Services, who are sponsoring the show, the full-fledged professional accounting firm with all your accounting needs. They can help you out. One more thing I want to add, that in case if you are in IRS tax audit, they can also help you out. One thing AJ always says, which on behalf of him, I'm going to say that once you get IRS tax audit letter, do not ignore it. And before you know whether it's a authentic one or not, immediately contact CPA and let them know what it is, and they will guide you. And Science CPA Services, they have the best record in solving IRS tax audits for their clients. And for that or for any other tax matter, you can reach out to them 908-888-8900 or visit their website sciencecpaservices.com. With that note, let's continue our talk on a tax fraud and a bank fraud. As you know by now, folks, we have a guest here who is Salman Anwar. He's a Vice President, Relationship Manager with Citizens Bank. And he's giving us all the information that we need to know about bank fraud and how businesses can protect themselves from the bank fraud occurring. Right before the break, we stopped when we were talking about bank fraud and the tax fraud. We stopped at businesses should have insurance coverage, and now we're going to continue from that. AJ suggested businesses should have fraud coverage, just like general liability, workers' compensation, so on and so forth. Now, Salman, my question to you is that, one, do citizens offer this fraud protection coverage?
Absolutely. So Citizens Bank offers every account a fraud protection. Now, that's not a mandatory that every business have to take it, but a lot of small business owners think about it, cost versus the benefit. Cost only matters when there's no value, but nowadays, as a lot of customers lose their money into a business and a personal accounts, but mostly we are talking about here the business accounts, Citizen Bank do offer fraud protection for all the businesses.
Okay, so now that's up to businesses to accept the fraud protection, whenever bank offers to their business clients.
Absolutely.
All right. What are the other ways Citizens Bank really make sure that their clients are not affected by this, bank fraud? That means, what are the layers of security Citizen Bank really covers for scammers to enter into the business accounts to have fraud occur?
So Citizen is a very large bank, and fraud happens from a customer's end, not from the bank's end. The system what bank is using is a state-of-the-art system where we provide and protect each and every customer.
Absolutely. I mean, the Citizens Bank, Sanjeevji, is a $200 billion
Yes.
plus bank. So it's a huge bank.
It is a huge bank.
So they have a state-of-the-art
They
system.
need to. I mean,
Of
they need
course,
to.
of course.
A bank is a bank, and they need to have this. And of course, Citizens. That's why we have, Salman Anwar of Citizens Bank as a guest with us, so that way they can shed some light on the bank fraud. Now, even though you have, frauds are frauds. They come in a different shapes and size and form. They don't look at it that this is only one way to do it. Let me share one quick experience with you, Salman. And if you have come to know this kind of fraud in your career with Citizen Bank, let me know. There is a company called ABC. Let's just go with ABC and XYZ. All right. ABC company decides to pay certain amount of money, let's say $100,000. We're going to use that number, to XYZ company. All right. What do? Is that they tell one of their employees, whoever is in the accounting department, is to send a check out to XYZ for $100,000. All right, the check is made out to XYZ company, and let's say that XYZ company has a bank account in OMC company, OMC Bank rather. So now XYZ, the check is made out. This person who issued the check within the company, and a lot of frauds also sometimes happens from within the organization also, because they know how to do that. So person who wrote the check, Salman and AJ, person goes to another bank, OPQ Bank, let's say, and opens an account with the XYZ company name and address and everything, and deposits the check right there and then. XYZ company doesn't get check after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, calls ABC company. ABC says, we sent the check out. We approved it. We sent the check out. Check has been cashed. We never got the check. And then a whole investigation starts, right? Now, other bank is puzzled that we got the check in the name of XYZ company. How did we deposit? Who came in to deposit? Deposited, and within a day or so, took all the money out.
Yep, it's very, very common, unfortunately.
Really?
The worst part is anybody can have any name. This is called DBA. So you can have a company, ABC LLC, doing business as XYZ, doing business as DEF. So DBA, the concept is called. So the bank is looking at a DBA. You can go and have multiple DBAs registered with the bank. So when you get a check for XYZ, even though your company name is not XYZ, the bank will still take the check. As long as the other bank is owning the check, your bank will take the money. And then after a day or two, once the money is realized, you can send this money out, take this money out, and nobody would know.
All right. So if that's the case, let's say DBA. Viewers, DBA stands for doing business as. So if you have an XYZ company doing business as, DBA, ABC company, you can have that. So in that case, let's say somebody opened that, somebody took the money out, the other bank is not responsible and everything else. And now this person who had original LLC, they closed the LLC, they are nowhere to be found. Money is gone somewhere in the blue moon or whatever it is, right? Now, AJ, when the company comes to you and say we lost the money, can they get some kind of deduction on their tax return?
They can still claim it as an expense. The money actually went out of their account. So we won't really hold it against them. But again, the tax is one part of it. You are saving 20% taxes on it. You still lost 80%. You still lost $80,000 in this example. So as much as they can save some taxes, you have to be careful. You have to have some trackability. One related example is we had a company that we picked up. On the payroll, they had 14 people. There were actually 9 people working in the company. So the accountant who was there, he was hand in hand with somebody, and he had a lot of fake people on the payroll, and those checks were going out of the account automatically every pay cycle. The company was really, really big, and they did not know that the payroll was much higher than what it should have been. $1,000 a week, $500 a week, $700 a week. Couple of pseudo people were taking the payroll without anybody knowing it.
Correct. And like I said, that many times fraud actually occurs, the start of the fraud occurs within the organization.
100%.
Somebody knows all these details and passes on to somebody, and that somebody teams up with somebody, and then this kind of fraud occurs.
100%.
All right, Salman, coming back to you with this bank fraud, you think businesses are only affected or individuals are also affected?
See, a lot of time you're sharing that information, and business entity is owned by an individual. So if the business information has been somehow got compromised, your personal information is also compromised. One thing what I would make a suggestion, and that's what I tell all of my Citizen Bank customers too, don't write checks. You have other options available. Use ACH, Positive Pay. If you were sharing a story, and I have
Please.
seen
Yes.
last 15, 20 years in banking, I had seen every single day. One of the things every morning when we wake up, we pray, hopefully nobody is on that list where you have to take care of that customer, because it's hurting the customer and there's no customer's fault. I had a scenario where I had this customer and I'm not going to call the name, it was an large insurance company. And they have a lot of these 1099 employees, and they would keep writing the checks. It was Christmas Eve. Right before Christmas Eve, I visited him and I asked the customer to suggest that product, which was a fraud protection. But customer felt like they never had a fraud ever on their account.
Oh, it can happen to us. We're fine. Nothing like that. A lot of people think like that. Yes.
And they were looking at, and I'll tell you, the cost wasn't that much, but sometimes small business owner or any business owner wants to save money. We suggested them, and it was Christmas Eve when I received a call, and there was $1 million was basically cleaned up from his account.
Wow.
It was Christmas Eve. He called and he said, I cannot understand where the $1 million was gone. So I looked at the accounts and I checked, and I saw there were hundreds of checks had been written, less than $29.99, and people were cashing it out. something what Ajay was mentioning,
Right.
a lot of time your employees, you might let somebody go. They have the check, it's very easy to go on Amazon or any stores and get the same page and copy those account numbers.
Yes,
It's a very, very common thing. However, what customers should do, business customers, and a small business owner especially, because they have a cash flow issue, as we all know, and think about it, if that $50, $60, $100,000 is out of your account, that's very challenging. By the time you might finish it up, fixing all that issue with the third-party investigation and all that part, it might be 2, 3, 4 weeks or a month, and your payroll is suffering. So what I would highly recommend, that you should not write checks, come to the bank, ask them the solutions where we can protect you. And money only matters if there's no value, but in this case, there's a lot of value, and banks, especially Citizen, do provide fraud protection on your accounts.
That's good to
Now,
know.
Salman, you said don't use the physical check, use positive pay, use ACH or wire transfer. What's your opinion about Zelle or Venmo? How do you see that?
So in our experience, in my personal opinion, is if you are a business customer, I would highly recommend you to use ACH instead of using Zelle or Venmo. That information can also be easily compromised. We had seen it, again, someone gets an option, someone gets your account number, routing number, cell phone number. Understand, these fraudsters are very, very smart.
Sophisticated.
Of course.
They're very sophisticated.
That's why they've been so successful.
That is
and
correct.
So many scams.
So if someone, they have to take, if they have to fraud you from Venmo, somehow they will have that option. I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I received a call, and it was on the WhatsApp. So I was in a different group, and they said, we are having this event, can you join that event? And they called a person named whom I know very well. So as soon as I click on that, it asks me to give them over the phone a code. Now, if Ajay calls me, or someone sounded like Ajay and said, Sam, I'm having this event, or you might get a code. Can you give me and read me that code? If I would have read that code, they would have hacked my phone.
Wow.
Exactly.
Now, once they would have hacked my phone, I have all my online banking
Everything,
there,
everything.
bank accounts,
Yes.
personal information. So this is where I'm coming. Like, when Ajay, you asked me, it's a great question. I would say, instead of using for business Zelle or Venmo, use ACH, wire transfers, positive pay, and use fraud protection.
Okay, so that leads me to a question which AJ just took part of the question away from my mind. My question to you is, let's say we live with smartphones. We can't live without smartphones, right? And we want to use this tool as to all the greatest qualities it has and makes our life easy and sometimes complicated also. My question to you is that, everybody has their bank app downloaded. It's good to deposit a check right there and then. But my question to you is that when you want to send the money, do you prefer that somebody should use a smartphone or use a laptop instead?
That's a great question. Depending upon, cell phones tend to be more safer.
You really?
I personally think that if you are on a personal
Okay.
level, when you're sending, you're
Yeah.
transferring the funds, I think so cell phones are a little bit safer, but all depend upon when you are using make sure you use your home network. Make sure you have
That's a good point.
protection at home or at work,
Yes.
that no one is getting into
So
your
there are
system.
firewalls and everything in there so
Absolutely.
that they can get in there.
And make sure your Wi-Fi is protected.
Yes.
It's not an open one, and a lot of time these folks get into your...
Especially, you don't want to be doing it at the airport.
In a public space, in a
In the
public
public
space.
And then,
don't
and
do
you know
that.
what, a lot of businesses, people who are traveling,
Right.
right? So you have many different ways to protect yourself.
Okay. All right. So these are some of the really good things. Quickly, anything else that you'd like to add in the last 30 seconds, Salman?
Yes, fraud can have a devastating effect, especially on the small businesses. A significant financial loss could impact payroll and operational
Yes.
cash flow. Citizen Bank is here to support all the small businesses to the large level of businesses. You can call us anytime. You can reach to Ajay, or you can call me directly if you guys have any questions. I have a team who supports and answers all your questions. We're more than happy to assist you guys.
AJ, we are running out of time, so thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
I am glad that we were able to cover this important topic, tax fraud and the bank fraud, and we'd like to thank Salman Anwar for being our guest
Absolutely.
today. Really, we and our viewers must have gotten to know a lot more valuable information from you, Salman, and you're most welcome to visit anytime that you like, in this show. The Tax Talk with AJ will come back, same place, same time, next week, right here on ITV Gold. AJ, once again, thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And until then, I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and the tax-free and now fraud-free days ahead. So long, take care.